Good afternoon. We're back in Assynt. Just couldn't keep away. Although to be fair, this is somewhere that I've wanted to come for quite a long time, and as many times as I've been to Assynt, I've never actually come up here. I'm walking along the unearthed burn of the caves, which hopefully gives it away as to where I'm going. I'm off to the Bone Caves of Inchnadamph. Just one of many interesting geological features in this part of the world. This is much of Assynt, I think, and much of this part of the world is called the Northwest Highlands Geopark. Geoparks are a United Nations thing, UNESCO, a heritage thing really, sort of to promote and conserve parts of the world and educate people about the unique geology and geomorphology of a given area, and the Northwest Highlands in particular, given its numerous different rock types, some of which are the oldest in Europe, 3,000 million years old, which takes some getting your head around. The glaciation and other features as well makes this quite a special place. It's not actually a very long walk, although it's in quite rough, wild country. It's only a couple of kilometres to get up to the caves, which are just around the corner to the right. Discovered, or at least excavated, 1889 by two geologists, Ben Peach and John Horn, who came up here. I don't think they were coming up here expecting to find what they did find, which was animal bones. And these caves hold, quite frankly, a staggering variety of bones. I mean, they're not there now, obviously. You know, they're in museums and locally and nationally in Edinburgh. What makes this part of Assynt special is that it's limestone. And limestone's not something you find a huge amount of in Scotland, at least not at the ground. I mean, there's bits. I mean, there's some in Fife, where I stay, and there's some in West Lothian and elsewhere down south in the Central Belt and beyond. But up here, there's a lot of it, and it's very close to the surface. The thing about limestone is it's very porous, and it dissolves easily. And so you get springs and caves and fissures. Like this one, for example. It's a burn, turning into a river. But where's it coming from? It's quite funny really, it's a spring. It looks like it's just coming from a sheer rock face, but it's not. Apparently it's coming from about 1 kilometre away and further up. That's where it's actually sort of flowing in. But it comes out here. There's a big network of caves in here. Assynt's very popular for caving because of things like this. All these underground cave networks that you just can't see. Speaking of things that you can't see, I'll tell you what I can see. This looks a bit worrying. It's getting very dark up there. I thought maybe I was going to have a break in the weather long enough to actually get up to the caves, which are up there. That crag in the sun at the moment, that's where the caves are. There's 4 of them on the flanks. This is it goes up like that, and there's 4 of them on the side. That's where we're aiming for. So you can see it's not far, but yes. Best move on. I might find myself sheltering behind a boulder in a minute. This is going to be like, the wind really picks up when these showers come through, so it's a bit like being in a wind tunnel in this glen. Oh dear. Wind comes first. Wind starts gusting. Be nice to find somewhere just some shelter, maybe in some heather. God, it's going so dark all of a sudden. Maybe here. I'll just wait out the worst of it. And it's hail, so it's not like it's really wet. But it's intermittently sleety as well, so not the best. It's quite painful, if I can say anything else. like winter. Everything's going white again. Five minutes later, back to normal. Just clearing up a treat now. But it's a geologist's dream. Along with other, I mean, there's a lot of places in Scotland are. Marl and Skye, of course, you'll just be bumping into knackered old minibuses full of geologists at every turn, it seems sometimes. But yeah, around here for good reason. I mean, the geology is world class. It's quite something. I have been up Benvironment, and you come down the back of it and you come sort of down these lonely glens. It does feel really wild. I mean, it does feel properly, I think it's so rocky. All the rocky places tend to feel a bit wilder and a bit more intimidating perhaps. You can tell it's popular, like these steps. Wonderful feeling of anticipation and excitement that, you know, when you go somewhere that you've been looking forward to going to for a long time and then finally you're there. Not that I think it's going to be anything there to see or find necessarily, and they're just caves, but it's more the thought of what was found there and what you're sharing that space with, history wise. Oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a rockfall sign on a path anywhere before. Marvellous. Wow. It's much more dramatic than I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. I knew they were high up on a hillside, but somehow I wasn't quite expecting this. Well, these are the 4 caves. They've all got names, and I'm assuming they've been named after what's been found in them. Like, there's been a lot of things found. Badger at the end. This one's reindeer. This one up here is bone, and the one at the end is fox den. 4 caves. Originally they would have been part of a much bigger cave system that would have extended outwards, but much of it has been eroded away by glaciers. Atmospheric place. I don't want to leave. It's really, really, you know, it will be. It's when it gets dark I'll start thinking twice, but just watching, because it's so sheltered here, it's nice just watching the weather coming over. Well, as you can see, they're not huge, although some of them do go a bit further back that you just can't access them. This is in Reindeer Cave. Do like a good cave, although I'm not into caving. So as I was saying down there, caves are sort of a inevitable part of limestone geology, because you get, in rain, carbon dioxide, you get picked up by rainwater, and when it does that, it turns into a very mild acid called carbonic acid. And because limestone is in no small part made of calcium carbonate, which dissolves in this acid, and very gradually over lots of time as rainwater passes through fissures and it cuts. I mean, it takes hundreds of thousands of years, and you get caves and tunnels and fissures and limestone pavements, things like that. So that's why these are here. When Peach and Horn came here in 1889, I think they only excavated the mouth of one cave. I don't know exactly what they found in that cave, what bones they found, but they found enough animal bone to sort of make them realise that this was a site worthy of further investigation. In 1925, somebody came here and did some more excavating, and he found bear and reindeer bones, and then 2 years after that, they found a lynx skull. But the list of animals, of other things that have been found in these caves is staggering. And I mean, you've got from big to small. You've got Arctic fox, badger, bear, lynx, reindeer, ox, pig, voles, lemmings, polar bear as well. If you can believe it, they found, I think it was concluded it was a bone of a polar bear was found here. Wild cat, and then birds, you've got geese, puffins, little auks, ptarmigans, you've got fish, even toads. I mean, everything has been found here. And sort of, you have that list and you picture all those animals in one place, and sort of, you can't help but picture them all in one place at one time. All sort of, you think it must be very crowded. But of course, I said before, these caves wouldn't have been as small as this, would have been part of bigger systems. Even so, it seems like a lot of animals to have found in one small place. But you've got to think this is over thousands and thousands of years. Different animals have come here, taken refuge. Other animals might have come up here with their prey and eaten them up here. Who knows? But there's also the theory that because so much rainwater gets washed through caves, through limestone systems, that a lot of bones might have been washed from elsewhere and ended up here, deposited, and then the water's gone a lot at a later date. Science being what it is these days, it means you can sort of date stuff. You can carbon date stuff, and certainly the reindeer bones. 1,000 fragments or something that they found, and it's not all just from one time period. I mean, some of them, I think they're between 8,000 and 47,000 years old. So we're going back to sort of post-glacial times, after the ice was pretty much gone from this part of the world, but going 47,000 years ago, still in glacial periods, emerging from and going into ice, mini ice ages that we had as the ice waxed and waned over many thousands of years, over the last 2.4 million years, I suppose. So you're getting an insight into the kinds of animals that are here in fairly recent history. I mean, I'd call sort of 8,000-10,000 years ago fairly recent history in terms of what animals seem familiar to us, the ones that were sort of here after the ice has gone. And a lot of these animals, I mean, they are long gone now. The Arctic fox, we don't have them anymore. If you go over to Scandinavia, if you go to Iceland, you have Arctic fox, but we don't have them here anymore. They went extinct about 12,000 years ago, I think. Reindeer, about 8,000 years, depending on what you read. I think lynx, sort of 200 AD or something like that, and then the brown bear about 1,500 years ago maybe. Boar have not been gone that long, of course, and wolves, was it 1700s maybe that the wolves went. So a lot of these things it's recent history. Perhaps most notably for anthropologists. Personally, I find the animals much more interesting, but I think they found the remains of 4 humans here. Maybe in the Bone Cave, not sure. One of these caves, the remains of 4 humans. One of them was sort of in a little stone enclosure, the remains, so possibly a burial. And they've been dated to around 4,500 years ago. So again, not that long ago. And you can imagine that 4,500 years ago, it would look fairly like it does now, at least in terms of the landscape. Maybe not in terms of vegetation and that, but certainly it would seem familiar. I've been up here about an hour now, if not a bit more, and just taking in the situation really, up on this hillside. And I really like it. I really like it up here. It's got grandeur, and I don't think it's too much of a stretch to sort of be able to picture those creatures that were here, and also the people who were here 4,500 years ago. It's not that long ago. It's probably verging on the pretentious to say that you feel a connection of some sorts. It's not that, it's more just this, I don't know, it's a funny thing to sort of express, but it feels, I don't know, you can sort of understand why folk would have come up here for whatever reason, whether it was burial, shelter, food, refuge, whatever. It makes sense that you'd come somewhere like this, and it's sheltered and it feels protected from the vulgar weather we've had today. So that's why I like it. It feels, you feel like maybe you're here for the same reasons. If you were walking out and you got caught in bad weather, if you were hiking and you were walking through this glen and you saw this, this is where you would come. You would come and shelter here. And that's what presumably animals have done and people have done, and that's why it feels, and it would have looked, like I say, it's not that long ago, it would have looked similar to this. The ice would have gone by then. So it does feel very close and it's very ancient at the same time. It's too long ago to even comprehend, despite I keep saying the opposite, but it's a long time ago. It's hard to fathom sort of between 8,000 and 47,000 years ago. But at the same time, it's, apart from those conifers down there, it looks like this really old ancient landscape, and you can quite believe that there's the wonderful creatures that were found in here roaming around. It's just sort of suspending the real world just for a moment, and just sort of being here in these caves and imagining what did go on here and what was here and what did live here and use these places. It's a nice place. I like it. I love the fact that polar bear fragments were found here. Polar bears were here. However long ago that was. And reindeer, big herds of reindeer. It's nice to imagine. I think it's 5:20. It'll be dark in an hour, otherwise I'll be taking refuge here if I don't get a move on. I think I better head down.